Save Lough Neagh! Give us an EPA! Save Lough Neagh! Give us an EPA!
I demand an independent environmental protection agency because Lough Neagh is a globally important ecosystem that is currently being trashed by big polluters.
Last year we saw one of the worst blue-green algae blooms that Lough Neagh has ever seen in decades and decades and decades. The loch is classed as hypereutrophic, which means it has an abundance of nutrients in it. Those nutrients are flowing into it from a number of sources. So NI water are polluting at will with both raw and treated sewage, and our agricultural land that surrounds the loch also unfortunately has a lot of runoff, so the slurry that's spread onto lands as well as the fertiliser that's spread onto the lands, any excess that's there runs straight into the loch, and that is feeding the nutrients in the loch and causing the blue-green algae bloom.
I demand an independent environmental protection agency because they're destroying Lough Neagh and we need politicians who will actually take it seriously.
We're here because for the last 9 or 10 months all we've been hearing is excuses from the political establishment as to why there hasn't been urgent action that's needed to tackle the crisis at Lough Neagh. Stormont is now in session and for the last month or so all we've been hearing is excuses as to why ministers can't meet with us to hear our campaign demands, why we can't present our research. So we think it's time that the people of the Lough Shore come and make our demands known and put a bit of pressure on the people in that building there.
No, there's no simple solution, and we understand that this is a long process, but it's never going to be achieved if we do not make inwards on things like creating an independent environmental agency, stopping the commercial sand dredging, research into the actual science and what's going on in the loch. Sitting back and ignoring it, which is what has been happening for decades, and just letting it do its thing, hasn't worked, obviously.
What the politicians could do is they could come and meet with us. They could come and meet with this organic campaign that's grown up from people around the Lough Shores. They can listen to our campaign demands. We have 5 very clear demands that we've put together as a group that we think could be a good step in the right direction of tackling the crisis at Lough Neagh.
NI water also needs massive investment into the infrastructure, which is absolutely creaking at the moment and not fit for purpose.
Definitely.
As far as I'm aware, there's upwards of 10,000 septic tanks just in and around the Lough Shores alone. And what people, I think, don't realise in today's modern standards and today the way we use our household detergents and household products that we use to wash ourselves, all that going into a septic tank, a lot of the septic tanks are actually malfunctioning because of that, and they're not performing as they should be. We would like to see a septic tank health programme whereby people could have an education programme on how to properly check their tanks, how to make sure they're not putting chemicals in that are stopping the function of the tanks.
I think it's of critical importance that Lough Neagh is taken out of private hands, taken out of private ownership.
I demand an independent environmental protection agency because over 40% of the water consumed in Northern Ireland is from Lough Neagh, and therefore it is an absolute vital resource for our survival as a country and as human beings.